Moving on to the second speaker, we've got Joe. Joe's the CTO of Burnley Football Club. He's talking about the transition into sports for a technology leader, how working with a football club differs to other industries, and the technology challenges and opportunities within a football club. Joe?
Well, your marketing team's done some win on this as well. Hi everyone, absolute pleasure to be here speaking to you all as well. Huge thanks to Andy for kind of making this happen, and the Maxwell Bond team as well. I think the pizzas, beer and everything else is absolutely fantastic. I think, can I just have a quick show of hands just to understand who the audience is? Who here works in product? Quite a few. Developers and devs? Okay, you devs. Anyone work in sports already? Okay, awesome. Anyone not work in tech? Okay, interesting. I moved back to Manchester about a year ago, and I left Manchester about 2001. And when I went away, there was no tech scene, or was a little tech scene, I'd say. First off, I've got to say it's awesome seeing how many tech people are now in Manchester and how the city's changed since I've been back as well. I think that's super brilliant. So my name's Joe Darkins. I'm CTO at Burnley Football Club, and I think I'm going to be talking to you today about the three topics that Andy said. I think the key thing for me is to start at the beginning, a little bit of the journey, to let you guys know what kind of journey I've been on in order to be a CTO of a Premier League football club. Just now we got promoted. although I was CTO when they were in the Premier League, then we got relegated, now we got promoted, and hopefully we'll be in the Premier League for a long time coming. So let's cover my journey into sport, if you like, more than anything else, because it's not typical, and I haven't worked in sport my entire life at all. So I think, from my perspective, I started off as a software developer. I was a C++ engineer at Reuters. I built global data delivery systems, and my master's in computer science, very much down the developer route. I think I did that for about a year and a half, and then someone senior at Reuters just said, no, you can talk to people, you can simplify stuff. You're not going to be a developer anymore, and then pushed me into more of a managerial role. And then since then, it was a kind of rolling ball to get into product, and I've done everything from, I've been the dev lead for some of the fastest growing startups in Europe. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. My role before this was actually working in property, and I was senior director of product for 3 capital markets business groups with about 470 million in profit, in revenue, sorry. So how did I get now into sports? Well, one thing is I always played sports. So I played lacrosse, tennis and football in my main 3 sports. I played in 3 World Championships in lacrosse for England, and primarily I love sports. I like playing sports. I've got to say I'm not actually an enormous fan of watching sports. I like the complexity of the game. I like watching it. I like being part of it, and that's part of what drew me into sports. And also I met the chairman at a business event, and that made it really helpful. I met him because I'd done some business with some of the investors in Burnley, and they reached out to me to understand if I knew anyone for this role. But because of family reasons, I was moving back to Manchester, and it just came together. So, this wasn't me applying on LinkedIn, but at the same time, it was fortuitous. But again, it happened very quickly, and it's something that I'm really happy that happened. And looking back with fondness, I think it's important to say, was it a crash landing? Because coming into a football club is not like any organisation. I'll cover a lot of that in the next slide. I said it's still a job, right? And lots of people, I don't get starstruck at all. I'm not bothered about the players. I'm in there to do a job as soon as I clock in. And the glamour of football rubs off very, very quickly. It's a tough job, it's hard, there's a lot going on, and we'll cover some of that in the next slide. You've got to get your hands dirty. There is not enough bandwidth in the business in order to not get fully involved. This is not a high-level managerial, just PowerPoint and Excel, which I've done before. This is where I've had to literally get into cubby holes and follow wires through places. I've had to, I've had to be at the football ground, and I've had to fix laptops, and I've had to do everything. So for me, it was kind of culminating a lot of my previous skills and bringing them together. And to be honest, finding skills I didn't have, and also remembering stuff that I've been taught a long time ago. So I think, the key was adapting to a dynamic business. Now, covering into like what's it like working at a football club for me, I think the key thing for me is it's easy because it's really mission-based. Out of all the out of all the companies that I worked before, I think the fact that it's so easy what success looks like, and that every single department in a football club has to win. If you don't win together, it doesn't really work. Because if you let the fans down and the fans aren't there to support, it impacts on the pitch. If the team aren't playing, then it impacts everything else. And again, the community around the club as well is super important, and you can feel it. And that really, for me, is like a super interesting thing about and unique about working in a football club, is that mission-driven element to it. One of the other things, though, I think really is cross-functional. And like anyone who thinks working at a football club is easy, we're an event venue, we're an event business, we're retail, physical retail, we're in e-commerce, we're commercial, we're a global brand. We do food and beverage, we're a charity, we're also an elite performance business, right? There's like 9+ businesses all within this organization, right, including a charity. So bringing all of that together, I can tell you now, and it's quite evident, people look at football clubs and they go, lots of money. All of that money is spent on players. Football clubs run as lean as possible, and your teams are really small. I've run big teams before, big global teams. I have a team of 2 at the moment. I got 2 interns for the summer, so I've literally doubled the size of my team. And we have to do everything. But one of the reasons that you have such a lean team, and the way you have to exist like this, is because we're also not a software development house. My background software, I'm used to building software. Football clubs tend to not have software developers in-house, and that means that you're going to move towards a partnership model. So the business has to fundamentally scale. We don't employ everybody on a match day every single day. It has to be able to scale up for a match day. It has to be able to deliver that experience for our fans and the players, and the safety and everything else that goes with match day. And then it scales right back down again for the next day of work. And the same happens really in terms of the part in technology. We have to use partners to be able to scale. And a lot of what we have to do is around how do we build those deep relationships with partners around our data? What's our IP? What's their IP? And how do we make sure that ecosystem of systems really matches the football club and what we're trying to achieve? And especially around the data. The data we want to try and control as much as we possibly can and utilize for our own decision making. But really think about it more in terms of working with partners and doing commercial deals. I do a lot of commercial deals, I do a lot of contracts. And I'm constantly talking to those technology partners to work out how we can adapt how they're working in order to fit Burnley. Now there's not many football clubs that have got somebody that's got a strong technology background like me, and it's refreshing to some of our partners because we're able to help guide them. We're looking to build innovation centres. Our chairman is super VC orientated in terms of investing in new tech, and he wants to bring as much technology in as possible, and that's one of the reasons why I went to Burnley. Doesn't strike it looking at Burnley or the location or the club to a certain extent, but it really goes to the DNA of what they're trying to create at Burnley, and that's really what we're trying to show here. So I think that's really the technology partnerships and ecosystems. In terms of like the challenges that we're trying to bring, I think it's like we've got the data platform, CRM, stadium experience, fan experiences. There's legacy issues that we've got to deal with. There's scalability. There's the real-time data and analytics that we've got to pull through. You've seen all of the different areas that we have to work across the organisation in order to bring a football club together. You can imagine I have to break that down in its simplicity into its respective areas, and not just by business line, but there's also about 9 areas that I work in across the organisation, from cybersecurity through to networking, through to data, innovation, AI. So how does all of those business lines match all of those different areas, and we bring all of that together? And that really has to come with a very strong sense of strategy in terms of understanding where the club's going and alignment with all the different business lines and the partners that we've got as well. And I think that's super important to understand, going back to the collaboration and where we're trying to go as an organisation, that all comes together. If you don't sell that and you don't match the technology with exactly what the business is trying to do, it's going to break. But thankfully, it's easier because we've got that goal and that mission, that orientation as an organisation going forwards. You know, there's plenty of opportunities in terms of like what we could do. You know, part of this is really, you know, is really trying to understand, you know, what the limits of the football club are. And one of the really interesting things about coming into football is I've worked highly commercial business. I've worked highly commercially before in organisations, broking, you know, financial services. I used to work front office trading. So, you know, I'm used to kind of like a vibrant commercial offering. If you lower the price, you're not going to get a lot more fans. So, who supports a football club here? Anyone? Okay, I'll just do it very quick. Keep your hands up. Very quick experience. Like this, I'm going to throw out some numbers here, and we're going to go up. Like, tell me how much. And if you're a Burnley fan, like just put your hand down. But tell me how much it would cost for you to become a Burnley fan. All right. If I paid you £100. Wow. Okay. They're the Man United fans over there. And bear in mind, I was a Man United fan, I tell you. Okay, £100, £1,000, £10,000, £100,000. Oh, we throw some big numbers around here. £250,000. Oh, there's some wavering. £500,000. £1 million.
Oh, right.
We've got one. You're either. No. Come on. It's unbelievable how saturated the market is, right, in terms of football. And it's amazing how the different Premier League clubs actually band together, and how you can talk to different clubs, and they are super open about what they're doing if you're a football club. Because we're not competing for each other's fans, right? And that is really strange. If you turn around and come from a commercial opinion, and you're like, right, how can we get this done? It's like, it's going to cost 250 grand, £500,000 to move those fans over. No. So there's obviously the international side, but a lot of this is about building that really deep fan experience and really trying to engage the fans that we do have to change, you know, their experiences, and that hopefully should drive revenue for us in terms of making us more successful. That needs to be driven into the pitch, that makes the club more successful, that drives back into that mission that we're trying to create. So you can see that big kind of like, that big like, revolving door, if you like, of the approach that we try to bring to football. So, you know, in a nutshell, really, I think, you know, from that to come on is leading technology in sports. You know, it is about fan experience, right? But it is about the fans, it's about the team, and it's about the community and bringing it all together. And hopefully, we're doing it right at Burnley. Hopefully we're bringing that strategy together so that we're taking Burnley from where it is today into the Premier League and further by thinking differently and being innovative about how we bring technology into the organisation. Thank you very much.